Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Yes, good afternoon. I am Gath Marchent, host for News and Views with the Rabbi. Today I have a special guest, Gonzalo Duran, Vice Chairman of the Bronx County Conservative Party, and Dion Powell, District Leader for the Conservative Party in Bronx County, and a mega person. So, we will start. Mr. Gonzalo Duran, you're the Vice President Chairman of the Bronx County Conservative Party, and you're also, I understand, a candidate for mayor next year. So could you explain to the audience?
Yes, as the Vice Chairman for the Bronx County Conservative Party, I've helped increase the party countywide by over 15% last year and over 25% this year. We've put a lot of individuals in vacant seats, and those are the people that have been coming in. And now we're at a position where, this last year, along with Dion and the rest of the party, we've made some really big strides. Although we didn't win as a county, we won in our main goals of putting, President Trump into office, and also now we have the state and the House under the Republican, leadership now. So now I want to make sure that we keep that momentum going on, and I'm running for mayor this year. I think I have the backing pretty much sealed with the backing with the Bronx, and I'm hoping that the state parties and the other chairmen, go along with that.
Right. Now, you have had success in the Bronx. For example, there was a city council seat in the Throgsneck Pelham Bay area that the Democrats had held for over 50 years. And you finally, with the Conservative Party backing, got someone elected for the first time, Republican Conservative. Could you discuss that with us?
Yes. So, I think I've been talking about this for a while now, almost 2 years, that there's been a red wave coming in. And, for the first time in, I want to say over 15, 30 years, the Conservative Party had their first primary. And the reason we had it was because we had a belief that Christy Marmorato, the current councilwoman, was going to have a huge victory in that area. This is right before my time of joining the party, by the way. I was in it towards after she got the primary win. Once she did that, she worked very hard to get the line for for the council seat, and it was impressive not only because of the way she maneuvered, but a very big portion of that was the Conservative Party giving her the numbers that she needs. A lot of people don't know this, but let's say we have maybe 6 individuals that are Republicans in New York City. 4 out of the 6 have the conservative line. So the Conservative Party may not have the numbers to let's say win a seat by itself. We do have enough pull that in other areas that we are helping give the numbers or the increase for our lines to be won.
So you're saying that, for example, there are quite a few voters who were dissatisfied with the Democratic Party, and your party will get an alternative to those people to participate. And will you involve them in your electoral process? Will you run some of those people from the community?
So I've individually have put in over 250 people into the party. And I can tell you there's a lot of people in the Democratic Party that are dissatisfied with their work. I am one of them. I'm a former Democrat, Dion as well. And, we worked with a lot of individuals that want an alternative. And some of them may not be, in favor of the Republican Party. So having a third party line or third party in general gives them the ability to move, and we have similar interests and principles with the Republican Party. So we give them that ability to move forward with us. So I think we have a lot of movements and increases that we can do, and the individuals that are coming into our party have that opportunity to run for offices. I myself started out as a district leader and then moved up to vice chairman, and now I'm running for last election I ran for Congress, and this year I'm running for mayor. It's crazy to think that out of the 8 million people that are in New York City, I'm one of 3 to have the ability to run for mayor. That's pretty awesome.
Yes. And we'll get back to your mayoral race in a minute. I want to turn attention to Dion Powell. Mr. Powell is one of those people that is a mega man. So Black Lives MAGA, his t-shirt, right? So he was one of the people that I know that when they said that Donald Trump did not have any Black supporters, especially in the Bronx, but this brother I know was a strong Democrat, was involved with the Al Sharpton movement, but now he's MAGA and he's in the Conservative Party and getting people involved. Could you tell us something about that?
Hi, everybody. I'm District Leader Dion Powell, the 78th Assembly District here in the Bronx, New York. And like the man said, I try to deal with my culture of Black America from far right to far left. I used to be the civics leader in the Bronx chapter of the National Action Network. And also I'm the former New York State director for Blexit, New York. And as you can see, those two are polar opposites of our Black spectrum, as it were. And for me, I try to do what I think is best for me first and my people by default. So right now with Black Lives MAGA, these are things that were put out there as a foil and counter to an antithesis of the Black Lives Matter movement, which actually was being very disappointing to our people as an ideology, but then come to find out it was a major moneymaker for a small sect of people who don't even look like us, but are actually promoting the agenda as a supplement to that and influencing our culture and our community, as well as putting them to the forefront and then pushing us aside. So now with President Trump being from New York, his father's from the Bronx, thanks to our efforts with Newsmax and Cara Cashinova, last year around this time, we interviewed people in the Bronx, and to much surprise, there was a lot of love for Trump. And the young Republicans who are associated with the Black and Hispanic Caucus, they showed Trump our tape at their gala, and he loved the ideas. Like he said, I want to come to the Bronx, I want to come to Madison Square Garden. And then Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr., who's also another leader in our community, had his clergy breakfast. And then Newsmax came there again. It went viral of all the support from the Latino community as well. So I'm of the belief that since 30% of the Bronx has gone up in support of President Trump, the Bronx Conservative Party is in a position now of leadership to be an official third-party swing vote. I'm going to give a shout out to George Habernack, who actually retained me as consultant for his primary on the Conservative Party and the Republican Party last 2023 in the spring. And I proposed to him, I said, listen, George, since the pool of conservative registered voters in 13th city council district is so small, we'll have to create them. He's like, Dion, what do you mean by this? I said, well, what I'll do is I'll go into projects in the streets with my crew and we'll update the voter registration forms. Question 14. Mind you, at the time, I was a registered Democrat, but I still oversaw the team. And what we did was that's legal for a Democrat or whoever to register people to vote, right or wrong. Yes. So I had them focus on question 14 of voter registration form, door to door, with our small script, and say, hey, there are 4 political parties. The Conservative Party is the official third party of New York State. Why don't you join? You've been saying that you wanted to be third party, and they'll have more respect for the projects and for the community when they see these numbers leaving. Sure enough, it snowballed from that January onward. And I personally, with my team, have gotten over 100 re-registrations and just education, because a lot of Black people like myself, they believe since they're Black, they have to be a Democrat, or their grandmother, like mine, makes them a Democrat when it's 18. And you start asking questions like, oh, no, this libertarian sounds cool. No, you're a Democrat. And that's it. So eventually I got broke because of school choice and registered Conservative Party, but now I'm a leader too. And the Conservative Party, in my view, when I started years ago with Bill Newmark, our former chairman who passed away, we can have Democrats, Republicans, and we use supplements for every political party. Everybody has a chance. We recently had an event at a church that Gonzalo led with a lot of different candidates. We also had conservative Democrats there as well. So everybody's welcome to either re-register or through cross-party endorsement with fusion voting, use our party as well with your name. And then as you can see from before, our votes add up to your votes to push you up top for victory.
So then the idea is that the main party, Democratic Party, has not addressed some of the issues in the community. So how do you overcome that hurdle of people saying we always Democrats, and because you're Black, you got to vote for the Democratic Party?
Well, this is also with delusional Republicans and independents. Everybody's coming into our conservative party now to change the mindset, shift the culture of Black America being synonymous with the Democratic Party. What we have to do is actually take it to the people and do something called ground game. The Republicans are horrible at ground game. Democrats are great with ground game because it starts out with the goodies, the free toys, the free school supplies, the free turkeys, the free prom dresses, the free food. And these are the ways the Democratic Party has a methodology of getting the people's attention, grabbing them like they're doing something. So every minority politician of color, in order to be successful, have to do these things, give these people access to the lights, camera, action on the camera. Now they're fooled of knowing that they're their friends. However, all the real estate developers and all the major nonprofits that come in to help us, none of these people vote. So that's the first thing that breaks your mindset. If you realize through the fog, wait a minute, this voting is my superpower, but I look around me, it's like not doing anything for me. And all these people who don't vote come in here with their bag of money influence and they run the show. So with that being said, once you start showing them this and the Conservative Party comes in with the same methodology of a tabling event for their usual voter registration updates, but also we give away some free toys, some free school supplies, some free turkeys as needed, but the civic education can't be broken and taken away from them. Because once we show them that there are 4 parties on that form and they can leave, like, oh, I didn't know that. And door to door, they didn't know that. We're calling people from our party with phone banking, say, how you doing? The same democratic methodology in the hood, but with the supplement of education and economic development. So I'll come in and I'll be like the resource guy and give them some of the things that's hidden behind the curtain. Like I used to work for the New York State Assembly. So I say, hey, did you know New York City has over $100,000 in first-time home buyers funding called Home First? You can use this money as a resident to buy your first house, condo, or co-op, and then you go for open mobility. Once people start seeing this, like, wow, this is how the government works. This is how it could work for me. And the Conservative Party is actually helping me instead of giving me like a voucher or a resource like Democrats do, then it becomes real.
Okay. So now to the situation with Donald Trump, right? You're a MAGA man. Could you explain why you MAGA?
I'm glad you asked. So the reason why I went the Black Lives MAGA route to, piggyback off the Black Lives Matter movement, which was so detrimental to our communities, especially our Black businesses that are destroyed, is that with the MAGA movement, I realized since 2021, since the shutdown of New York City and the firing of all the workers that didn't take the vaccine and the school choice stuff that we did with Brexit and our leadership, that this is the most spiritually fulfilling work I've done in my life. And since the lockdowns, I met people that were Proud Boys that got arrested. They've become friends. I met people that were January 6ers that got arrested, and they became friends of mine because we're all in the same fight, but these people know what they're talking about. And so with the MAGA movement, what really red pilled, because that's a concept, Rabbi, Black America, and which helped us a lot, was the migrants. So MAGA stands for what? Make America Great Again. But when the migrants came in and they got so much support and resources and, people in the shelter systems that I know personally that were pushed aside, they told me they were pushed aside by, Allied Universal Security, we realized that, wait a minute, we have become, in Black America, no longer second-class citizens, but third-class citizens. This great conspiratory replacement theory seems to be coming to fruition before our eyes, and they're using the same methodology, the free toys, free supplies, to fool us into thinking that we should help everybody under our broad brush of people of color. We're migrants. I was told as a young man that, when it comes to immigration, we didn't come in that way as slave stock. So then we realized we're no longer Black anymore. We're Americans now. We're all Americans. These people are Americans. We should be treated like Americans. Put us first. Put Black America first. Our issues first. And then Black Lives MAGA became a parody of Black Lives Matter. And so now that we're Americans, we all want to make America great again. Just like we all united from far right to far right, left to fight these mandates and the school choice and term limits, we all agreed on the same thing. So we're becoming close together. And now that the Democratic Party has exposed itself as not being democratic, it's pushing people further together from all walks of life. And that's very dangerous.
Right. So do you believe that Donald Trump is going to address the needs? Because quite a few people say, well, he's a racist. Oh. He's not going to do anything for Black folks.
Oh, really?
Right. So could you explain why you feel different and why you support him because of your ideas?
Well, I'm glad you asked that again. Because we already have a record of Donald Trump's first 4 years and what he's done for Black America. If you look at the First Step Act, when it came to criminal justice, he actually was ahead of his time. Most of the people that were affected by President Joe Biden when he was in the Senate, and affected by Vice President Harris when she was the Attorney General of California, believe it or not, you can think about it critically, and Donald Trump actually let some of those people out of jail that they were trying to keep in prison, or because their policies made in prison through his parties and community censuses. And that's the first thing. Now, fast forward to Black America now, it's like, well, I believe so, because there's a person in Maryland, the former state attorney, Marilyn Mosby, who the great Black vote and Black power has been trying to pressure Biden to pardon, but they haven't done so.
I don't mean to stop you. We have to take a break at this time, and when we come back, we'll continue this discussion. Millennium TV 24. Hello, viewers in America and around the world. This is Gath Marchent for Millennium TV 24. I am the host for News and Views with the Rabbi. This platform is for all religions and much more. Please watch Millennium News 24 every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We are streaming on live TV and podcast, iOS and Android services, and all smart TV, Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Globally, we are on Horizon Satellite. Our website is MillenniumTV24.com, MillenniumNews24.com, all social media, Millennium News 24. Yes, we're back. I would turn attention to Mr. Gonzalo Duran. Now, you're indicating that you're going to be running for mayor. Could you give us an outline of your platform and what you intend to do and how you intend to get elected?
Well, for the first big goal that I have to do is try to get on the slate, which, with Dion made in passing a comment regarding an event that I did a couple of weeks ago. Now, this event, I had candidates and leaders from the Conservative Party members from across the city, from Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, etc. And we came together to unite, and I'm hopefully under the support of getting me into the position that I can run. Now, many of them, without me asking for it, gave me their endorsements. And if I look at that the way that I'm hoping, it pretty much solidified me getting the Bronx, endorsement. And now I'm working my way across the other counties and next is to the state party. Now, anybody that comes up here is always going to say, they're going to want to, reduce crime, help out with housing and all these different things. These are all things that we all matter into the people as well. These are platforms that I've been working on for the last 10 years. But how are we going to do it is the difference between every candidate. And, from my approach, I'm not a type of person that does flip-flopping. I'm anti-corruption. My goal is to hit a lot of these platforms hard. And, it's not going to make me the most popular person, but in the end of the day, I believe it's what's needed to fix the city. A lot of people want to do affordable housing, right? Well, it's not easy. What's affordable to you and Dion may not be affordable to me, and et cetera, people out there. For me, one of the goals that I would try to do is try to fix the AMI problem that we have. It's not a popular thing, and it's not going to be easy.
Could you explain what that is?
It's a calculation on what the average cost of living should be, breaking down into what your rent could be into depending on the location you are. So, like in different areas, it's different prices. But the biggest problem with the AMI, that number, is it goes, one part of the calculation has to do with HUD, and one part of it has to do with the surrounding areas that it takes over. And the problem is that it takes outside of the accountability of the New York City area. It goes in some places outside of New York, making the let's say the minimum income a lot higher than it would be for somebody in the Bronx. Like somebody in the Bronx, and I think the average minimum income is like 54,000, something like that,
Yeah.
in that area ballpark. Well, if you go for affordable housing in the Bronx, do the that calculation, I think you can get like a what's the name? Congressman Espinal did a lottery. I think it was like 80,000, 90,000 for the bare minimum, up to like 125,000. That's not the average Bronxite's income. So, where are they getting that number from? And that's the basic outline out of it. For me, once again, I would want to change that. Another thing is, we give affordable housing to these, and once again, Dion hit on this regarding these locations, these developers. They come in, they get these huge tax breaks, and then they get funding from us to build up these affordable housings, and they only give us like 30%. And I can tell you for a fact that I know if we go review those places that have given 30% housing to the community, if within 2 years, 5 years, I bet that percentage is way low or non-existent.
No, that's a good point in the sense that we talk about homelessness and developers, because they get a tax abatement, it's supposed to provide a certain amount of units for affordable housing. But when you go there, most of these people can't get in, even if they have a voucher. So how you
once again, this is where we need to increase that number by 50%, in my opinion. And then organizations, and although I don't really particularly care for the public advocacy, that's one of their jobs to be reviewing, and city council members to. I mean, we have a review board that does that, but you don't see the reports published, on a regular basis. When it comes to let's say public safety, we have NYPD that is not fully manned, and we have an auxiliary that's not fully manned. I know this because on the community board meetings that I go to, the first things the captains and their representatives say, we don't have enough people to deal with a lot of the, let's say, I don't want to say the small issues, but the public, I forget that wording that they use. Let's say if there's a noise problem and all these
safety.
Thank you. Those issues like that, there's not enough people to cover those issues that are going on. So one, we would have to increase the numbers, but I'm not going to say, let me throw money at the problem. That's, one of the things with the, my position and the Conservative Party is fiscal transparency. So I would want to see the books for, what's going on. Obviously, we had a lot of issues with the NYPD just now with the lieutenant and the chief of detectives and, those little candidates. And that's not a normal thing. That's a very common thing that's going on,
But I know what you're saying is correct in the sense that what the past administration and the NYPD have done is taken a lot of people out of the street patrol and put them into different administrative positions. I know this because I was in South Jamaica houses where the people had a bunch of crack people sleeping in the hallway, and when they call, they can't get no police. And when we went to the police at a precinct council meeting, they said, we don't have enough patrol. We're asking for NYPD or one police plaza to give us more police. And there's a lack of police. Now, I understand that the commissioner is now, a new commissioner, is now going to take people out of all these administrative positions and put them back in the streets because there's a shortage of people fighting crime in the local area. So you're correct.
Well, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for all the big scandals. And we're not talking about little ones. These are big scandals now. They're cleaning house, and she's I don't know her within her capacity as a NYPD commissioner. I know her as the commissioner for sanitation.
Right.
I know a little bit about her background now more than I did before. She's someone that, once again, I think has made a difference compared to the other administrators that Adams has put in. He's put in most, and this goes across the board with politicians. Nepotism and cronyism is a very common thing when it comes to politicians. Okay. And you can see his administration, a lot of it is crumbling because you put your cousin, your friend, all these people into these type of positions, and then you're surprised that everything's getting screwed up.
Right.
But she stands alone because she comes from a wealthy family. She has a high level of education. I wouldn't be surprised if she's doing what she's doing so that she can run for mayor as well.
Yeah, so I see that because the changes have already been made because that issue in the South Jamaican houses, they finally found police officers to now patrol
All of a
the
sudden,
area.
all of a sudden.
But it was done because she did the leadership to make that change. It's back to you, Dion. In the situation with MAGA movement, I want you to explain more, because quite often the Democratic Party and people in the press saying there are no blacks there. You know what I mean? Like, I went covering the rally in the Bronx, right? And I saw a whole bunch of young black people there, right? Ooh. But the media said, oh, there ain't no blacks, there ain't no Hispanics here. You know what I mean? And I know you helped organize a lot of the rallies for Donald Trump. Could you explain?
Well, that's why we have wonderful podcasts and platforms like Millennium 24 News, because we have to get our own messaging and narratives out there. And it's a good thing you're on the ground. Yes. So the fourth branch of government, the mainstream media, as you can see, a lot of people are actually being able to discern through that now. Their ratings are going lower, lower, lower. And alternative media like the Fox News and the Newsmax, like I said earlier, their ratings are going up because now we're seeing a broader view of what is not being shown. But yes, we do exist. And the mainstream media, I've noticed, the NBCs, ABCs, or CNNs, anytime we do a rally, like in the Bronx or outside Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, or at Collect Pond Park across the street from District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office, there are plenty of people of color. Most of them know me and beyond, thanks to my efforts with Blexit and some other stuff. But these cameras will live out there for hours filming, and they won't air anything. My theory is there's too many black and brown looking people in those crowds, and that will shatter the universe of their narrative and lose support from the Democratic Party that supports them. And if you look at it historically, right now, thanks to Millennium News 24 TV and other podcasts on YouTube or Twitter X, as it were, free speech is going through in the hands of the people. The press is becoming back in the hands of the people, independently of the main sources of information. And so now, thanks to our efforts in New York being shown on these platforms like Newsmax, we Black America here in New York, we made it cool to support Trump in these other areas of Chicago and LA and Philly. Especially Chicago, with this migrant issue, we're speaking truth to our powers of elitists. We're breaking the black wall of silence and say, hey, no, we voted for you because you're black and you do nothing for us. We see through you now. You have your own democratic agenda, like with Marilyn Mosby, who I advocate for her pardon, and exposing how the Ben Crumps and the Angela Rye's and the Reverend Dr. Al Sharptons and the Roland Martins and the Joy Reeds, these people don't represent us, speak of us, have no real influence or access other than like Black Lives Matter, taking all this great money and pushing an agenda that doesn't really do anything for our community.
Now, when Donald Trump was being tried on the 30-something counts on the thing, I saw you out there, you was rallying, but nobody would know that, right?
No, unless you're on the ground. Yeah, that's why we are very good at having a ground game. In addition, when we were at Collect Pond Park, all the MAGA races, white supremacists like me, our side was the most diverse side. On the other side, partition, where you had all these anti-Trump people, they didn't really have any black people there. You could clearly see it was pure lily white with all the goodness and liberal progressives. And so one person I brought objectively, DJ L7, shout out to his platform, he's a Korean guy. He's like, wait a minute, Dion, I couldn't help but notice that all the MAGA people, mostly people of color over here, all the people who hate Trump and more than he should go to jail, they're all white. It's exactly. You wouldn't know that until you're on the ground with your platform. Epic Times, shout out to them too. They're like, wow, this is amazing. How organic. And you guys are so welcoming. It's the other side of the fence with the Democrats that's so toxic and pushing people away and alienating people and opinionated and, closed-minded. So it's a very weird world that we're being told one thing, whereas in reality, it's not. It's always reality versus perception here in politics.
Right. Now, another thing that the Democrats were doing, they were laughing at Donald Trump when he said these migrants are taking the black jobs, right? Oh. Right? Black jobs, right? Now, what I noticed, and I went around with the media covering stuff, when he was talking about black jobs, he was talking about jobs that, for example, the Biden administration gave work authorization to people from Venezuela, right? And what happened is that they're not working. So if you go on all these job sites, you will see illegal migrants there working, making $100 an hour. Hey, that's a black job. You're not talking about minimum wage. Could you explain that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So I'm gonna give you a perfect example of what you're talking about. Because number one, when they're saying that, oh, people don't want to do these jobs and that's why they need them, then my question is, where are these jobs posted? Have you ever thought about that? They're taking our jobs. Nobody wants these jobs, Dion. But where are they posted? That's number one. Number two, you got to look at the sense of policy because we're people of color so inclusive. Now, most of the jobs, as you see fit, Black America, they say what? Bilingual required. Spanish speaking preferred. You see, these nuances, you don't see the snakery until it's too late and that personally affects you. Now, on paper, we need a director of African American Affairs Outreach to do all these wonderful good things at our nonprofit or our diversity inclusion office. But the fine print of the job application description clearly states Spanish.
Let me hold that on there. It's time for a break.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get back to you after the break. Hello, viewers in America and around the world. This is Gath Marchent for Millennium TV 24. I am the host for News and Views with the Rabbi. This platform is for all religions and much more. Please watch Millennium News 24 every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We are streaming on live TV and podcast, iOS and Android services, and all smart TV, Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Globally, we are on Horizon Satellite. Our website is MillenniumTV24.com, MillenniumNews24.com, all social media, Millennium News 24. Let's be back. Just to go on with that, they will tell us that, the black unemployment is at the lowest level, you know what I mean? But we know how the unemployment rates are figured. If you have a job and you get fired or, you leave, you apply for unemployment. Those figures are only those who are filing for unemployment. They figure out the unemployment level. But what about those in the black community, those youth in the black community that don't have a job? They're not on that level. They're not being calculated to say that they have a job.
Well, again, when you look at the policy and what's promoted in the reality versus perception, the American Rescue Plan, remember that? We're here to save America. Donald Trump is out. It's 2021. We're going to hire 30,000 people on paper. That was proven to be one big fraud. And it's coming out now. And once the president's administration comes in, I'm sure with people like Casper and beyond, it's going to be exposed more so. But yes, again, the ground game in the community, the real grassroots, as it were, has to come into play with these numbers games of job. Temporary jobs, off-the-book jobs, HRA required jobs to keep your public assistance, for example, and also the numbers are being skewed with the migrants' employment as well. Think about it. You take your local school. Enrollment for schools are down. But now that we're going to put in the migrant children, because the migrant children need special care, they can say, well, now we can legitimize our budget. But now all those numbers, which don't lie until they're manipulated to present whatever point you want to make, now they're skewed because we have this 4% increase in our national population. So those are the numbers as I see it and how they can be skewed and manipulated when it comes to people with a social security number, people who aren't documented without a social security number. We can lump them all in and out as needed.
Right. Now, back to you, Mr. Duran. You're of Hispanic. You were born here, but your people are from El Salvador. I was discussing with you earlier that the Garifuna people in El Salvador, those are Africans, by the way, who went to Central America, and there's quite a few communities there. Could you explain?
Yeah, so I've been working with the Garifuna community for a couple of years now. There are veterans that are Garifuna as well in the community in the Bronx as well, a large population of them. When it came for the time frame of slavery and then the separation into the colonies and different areas, now we have that distinctive group of Spanish African in the community,
Right.
How do we try to bridge that gap in here? In my area in the Crotona Park East, there is a large Garifuna
Right.
community, and I've been trying to make my way into there, and people like Dion have helped, balance that out for me. But the services that veterans, that the LGBT, the Garifuna, it's all same things that we're facing individually. So how do we help those systems? We just talked about the unemployment rate.
Right.
What about the housing rate, the food insecurities, all these other things that are coming up? For me, my perspective is attacking everything in a multifaceted way, but also trying to not do a lot of the things that have been mimicking. And Dion put out some hard points and direct. And one of these things that we have to deal with is like, look, Mayor Adams, once again, and I'm not trying to be negative towards him right now, because that's not what I want to project.
Right.
But his leadership ability and the people that he put in mimics going down the chain.
Right.
When you have a police commissioner, he's had 3 police commissioners in his first term, right? Now these people are leaving because they're not good leaders, or they haven't been put into the right positions.
Yes.
So, for example, if I was running, I'm not that I am running for mayor. Excuse me. In my head, I'm still thinking it's a dream to come true, and I can't believe it's here. If I, in my administration, if I was to choose a commissioner, I would pick the highest ranking individuals in those departments and interview them, go through them, vent them, not just put my friends up there, or, now we have the new, former, sanitation commissioner moving over to the NYPD. She was a part of the NYPD at the lower level. Let's see, the information, I think, department, and she has a background in law, but that still doesn't put you in a position where years and decades of an individual that needs that type of mindset when it comes to public safety, she's doing, I would assume it's like on the job learning. I would once again be picking the most hardworking individuals within the rank and file to be put in these positions: sanitation, parks departments, NYPD, veteran services, all of them across the board. And these are things that, we haven't seen before. And I would love to the opportunity to do that.
Right. Now, what would you do differently from Mayor Adams? Because, he's doing, in my estimation, some of the right things, because you can't have all these homeless people in the streets and children sleeping in the street and not providing some kind of services for them. But it costs the city $11 billion. $11 billion, right? That's taxpayers' money. And that's why and he's not getting any help from the federal government, very little from the state, right? So what would you do different?
So once again, these issues like this, it can't be super easy to answer it on the spot. And these are multifaceted problems that we have to fix. So in the beginning, just to touch on one of the parts that you mentioned, was getting the homeless individuals outside the subways, right?
Yes.
Mayor Adams, one of the things I did like when he started his administration was he put a hard press on getting them out of the subways, but there was no implementation for what to do after. Now, Dion, this is one thing that me and him have talked about in the past with the nonprofits. There are thousands and thousands of nonprofits in New York City.
Right.
So you take the NYPD, you have to train them, you have to put them in a position where they have mental health services accompanying them into these things. Now you take these individuals out of the subway, but you can't just let them into the wolves out there. You have to have the organizations come and help them in those projects. Mm-hmm. Now, when you hit with the migrants, that's another situation. He stood there with other politicians saying, come to us, we want you, etc. And then when it became too hard, whoa, stop. And then when the press came and said, well, you don't want to help them out? Oh, no, we love them. So this whole back and forth. Mm-hmm. Look, I believe in this theory. Like, if this bottle right here, this is almost halfway full. Mm-hmm. If I keep on pouring water to the top, it'll be good for me, no problem. Mm-hmm. If I keep on pouring it, it's gonna, go all over the floor, this desk, and that's where we have to see. There has to be a limit to everything that we're doing. I have no problem. Obviously, my mother came here illegally. I'm a first generation, but there is a cutoff that needs to be in place because there's only a certain amount of money. The politicians were looking at federal funding to come, and the federal government said, no, we're not going to pay your exorbitant amount of money that you want,
Right.
only because we knew there were elections coming up as well.
Right. But I guess when your mother came here illegally, she didn't look for government handout, right? She worked hard.
Well,
Made sure you went to school and everything like that.
Well, I can see the hypocrisy when it comes. My mother did go off public assistance, but she also hustled at the same time to try to make ends meet. It still wasn't enough at that point. And we're talking about, and once again, with the hypocrisy, I understand it, but we're talking about decades and of people coming to this country that were asked to come to the country as well, and now they've reached a certain point. Now we have a secular group right now where the poor outweigh the middle class, and the rich outfathom the middle class and the poor class. Right. So the people that are paying for these institutions, these programs, and the resources, they're dwindling. So if the rich people aren't paying it, and let's say the ones in destitute are asking for more, where's it going to come from? There has to be a limit. So I understand the hypocrisy when it comes to it, but at some point we have to say we have to put a limit.
Right. Now,
but just to hit on something very strong.
Yes.
You asked about the migrants coming in. There's situations where we see the migrants panhandling in the subways,
yes.
and let's say the ballparks and Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
Children working at
yes.
8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes.
We wouldn't allow our kids to do that.
Right.
And it would be illegal. We would get child services, and then repeating on us. But you can't also give them the break like that.
Right.
And that's something I want to hit. And once again, that's the hypocrisy that not only is being reviewed on me, but on you as well. Because if you allow that to happen, you're just the same as fault that I am.
Right. Now, but how do we, correct this?
Well, once again, everything that I said, there's going to be hard decisions that have to be made. We have to, I'm not saying that.
But what would you do?
Well, one of the things that I want to do, make sure is that I am not going to fight against Sanctuary City. We need that, and there's a multifaceted reason why we have a Sanctuary City. That's there. What we need to do is put a stop to a lot of the immigration narrowing. Trump coming in, that's one of the reasons the people wanted that to happen. Now, do I think we're going to do mass deportation? No, there's a checks and balance that we have, and the other side is going to push back on that. So do we need to narrow it down? Yes. Do we need to implement more safety precautions, not only for the schools, for the community, and for every other administration that is for the city? Because the city only has so much it can do.
Right. Now, they already have made the changes about the visas that people are professionals, because what I found out in interviewing a lot of the migrants, right, and I basically interviewed the migrants from West Africa, I found that a lot of them are professionals, doctors, engineers, that kind of professional thing, which America need those services. If you go into the hospitals today, most of the doctors and the nurses are migrants, right?
Yeah.
And there's a shortage of Americans doing these kind of jobs. So there need to be some kind of, and I think Trump through Moss already made that adjustment that we need to take a look at those people coming in. But the main thing is the criminal element. Now, just last week, Saturday, an illegal migrant who was deported before and came back in the country illegally set a woman on fire and killed her in the subway. Right? So these are the things that you need to, because I came here as a migrant too, a little boy. I've been here a long time, right? But when I came here, my family had to wait at the visa place in Kingston, Jamaica, and we had to do a background check. You know what I mean? Family financial records before they let us in the country. You know what I mean? So, there's no background check right now with those migrants coming in. So we don't know. A lot of them are criminals. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, no. And look, once again, my mother came here legally. She is a citizen now. I was born here, so I don't have any, way on that part. But I've dedicated my life to serving this country, the city, and the good state of New York. I want to have a better New York. I want to have peace of mind. I want to be able to walk down the street and feel safe. I don't want to walk into, a store and have 3 panhandlers, come after me, when I'm trying to do something. These are all things that we have to focus on. When you spoke about, one of these issues, the safety precaution, I have to go to meetings, and the first thing that they say is, I don't feel safe. Well, why don't you feel safe? Because of the criminals out there. This situation where the subway, I've had a lot of people tell me, look, I'm sorry, I want to meet up with you, but I don't want to go to the city because I'm afraid of that. That's one issue of many different types that are going on. If we just touched on that right now, the guy is an immigrant that did that fire.
Oh.
He was, he was sent back and he came back. How he got in, I don't believe that's been determined yet. But in that instance right there, the sanctuary city was there to help out. But we'll get back to that.
We'll take that there. At this point, we're going to take a break. Hello, viewers in America and around the world. This is Gath Marchent for Millennium TV 24. I am the host for News and Views with the Rabbi. This platform is for all religions and much more. Please watch Millennium News 24 every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We are streaming on live TV and podcast, iOS and Android services, and all smart TV, Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Globally, we are on Horizon Satellite. Our website is MillenniumTV24.com, MillenniumNews24.com, all social media, Millennium News 24. Yeah, we're back. I just want to touch one more issue with this whole thing about the crime and everything like that. Are you aware that the drugs is on the rise? More people smoking crack today. Most people are smoking marijuana, not the legal marijuana.
Yeah.
The ones that are laced with fentanyl. Even the crack is laced with fentanyl. And I know what I just told a story before of 12 people, crackheads, sleeping in the basement of the South Jamaica houses, died of an overdose of smoking crack laced with fentanyl. And 2 people jumped off the roof, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the thing is that what I investigated, there's no drug beds for drug treatment. Why arrest somebody who have an illness? Using drugs is an illness.
Yes, and and I agree with that, and I sympathize with that. But just like what I didn't get to finish a moment ago was, let's say the individual that was a migrant that burnt a woman in the train station. At some point, you have to say that's enough. Right now, even though we have a sanctuary city, he should be arrested and be put into jail for what he did. Determining where he's going to go after that is a different thing.
Yeah.
But he should be prosecuted federally as well.
Yes.
When we talk about drugs, that's another thing. The last administration has put in place basically decriminalized drugs and then made it legal. So what would be the ramifications of all that? Obviously, there's going to be an increase of drug process across New York City. Now, I know this puts me in a bad situation saying, but although I wouldn't go back and criminalize it because I think it'd be too hard to fight, but we have to put certain limits to what is going on. The services and the supplements of that was not really looked into. So now we have the sheriff's departments having to do extra work for all this.
Right, but not to cut you off, there's a difference. That's why the state has, other states is a word, Colorado and other states, right, where the marijuana that they're talking about, the state legalizing, is basically what you call it, marijuana that has nothing, it's pure, right?
Yeah,
but what is happening right now is the criminal element is selling illegal marijuana that's laced with fentanyl.
Yes.
That's where the problem is. It's not the legal marijuana that the state has put out there. It's the illegal ones.
But now we're looking at 13-year-old kids in McDonald's making blunts right there, or people smoking crack on the subway.
With illegal drugs. That's illegal, what we got to cut
or
out.
Illegal. Now, illegal, once again, if we don't have a strong police force, how can we stop these things? Now, the nonprofits and the other organizations through the cities to put in these resources to help the people that are abusers and substance and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Should we have more resources for them? We have to have more resources because of the increase of users that we're going to have, and that's something that wasn't thought about carefully in the last administration.
Well, I think that's what when Donald Trump has said, and I'll get to you, that the border with fentanyl coming in, basically produced in China and other places, through Mexico, and coming up the border, and a lot of our people, and I just mentioned 12 that died of the overdose of fentanyl. Our people are dying from fentanyl, not taking the regular drugs, right? Because the crack or regular marijuana don't kill you.
Yeah, but how many people are standing in the middle of the street as zombies because of all these situations and increases of them happening?
But the zombie, and I don't mean to interrupt this personally, but I had a situation where I had to be in the shelter. My home was stolen by an illegal deed transfer. Right? They do that to senior citizens. Right? And so I was homeless. So I had to go in the shelter. Thanks to Mayor Adams' help and the deputy mayor, I now have a place, right? But whilst I was in the shelter, right, the first shelter that I went into, it was a big room, and these guys smoking crack in the room, right?
Ward's Island.
No, not Ward's Island. This was in Brooklyn. And what happened was that I went to sleep and I put my cell phone underneath my bed because it was like a room with like 20 of us in the room, right? Bunk beds. And when I woke up to look for my phone, it was gone. So the police was at that place. Yes, right. And the sergeant, he came and he said, "Here's your phone. I found it on this crackhead. He had it put in his thing. He was going to go sell your phone to buy more crack." And he had to kick these guys out of the thing. So what I'm trying to say to you is that is going on even in the shelters. And I had one guy who was my roommate in the shelter that almost died of an overdose, right? It's constant drugs that's going on in there, constant drugs. And that is not being addressed. That's my point. It has to be addressed. We need some drug beds and drug treatment instead of arresting somebody who is strung out on drugs, putting them in jail when they need help. The help is not being given. So I want to know, how would you address that?
Me?
Yes, from the Trump administration, because he's talking about cutting off the fentanyl at the border.
Well, the first thing that he is doing is he is addressing the border. He said, "War, war, war, war." And people remember that. People have a more sense of history. So number one, what he's going to do is close the border. You see, we don't need numbers. They would call it common sense. I'm just going to call it logic, reasoning, and understanding. The black market has exploded at the border. We don't need to see any numbers. Won't you agree?
Yeah.
Child trafficking has exploded at the border. We don't need numbers. Wouldn't you agree?
Right.
Drug muling and shipment has exploded at the open border. Do we need to see numbers for that? No.
Right.
With logic and reasoning, we know these things will exponentially explode. So the first solution the president's going to do is hit the border hard with ICE, shut it down, reconstruct the wall, get all the materials needed to move the wall. So that's the first thing, to wane all of that. Number two, what is he doing again? The man's hand, I keep saying, hasn't touched the Bible. This man, Tom Holland, is not playing. His very existence as a potential appointee is already having the semi-small auto-correcting situations. A lot of people, actually, believe it or not, are deporting themselves. Have you heard that kind of news?
Yes.
The next thing is, President Trump has also said that if there's any country in the world who does not take their migrants back, I'm going to put 100% tariff on there. How's that sound? So Donald Trump hasn't even touched it. But you see, things are actually auto-correcting themselves. It's like President Trump is actually running the country now.
I mean, if you look at the Mexican president, the one thing she said is they're trying to figure out where they're going to take the people that are being, removed or pushed back,
Right.
and where they're going to put them.
Yes. But it would be easy if these countries, and when they come to the border, they get turned back. If you want to come into the United States, you go to the embassy in that country and apply for a visa to come into the United States.
One of the things that we should think about is Jimmy Carter and what he's done for his country.
Yes, and we have a tribute to President Carter. We are sorry for his death. And I go back with President Carter when I was 21 years old as president of the student body at Manhattan Community College. I was chosen by the campaign to be the youth coordinator in 1976 for the Carter campaign. And I met the president, and he was a great man. And he continues to do good work, biblical work. He comes and he builds houses for people. Even personally, he was building houses for people. He goes into Africa and with his foundation, and he helped the people who need help.
With Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity. So God bless him. He's a great man, and we appreciate his service to this country. And I say I salute him, and may his soul rest in peace. Now, anybody have to say anything about that?
Well, I remember growing up as a kid, Jimmy Carter being one of the people that promoted the peanut. Remember that those days?
Yes.
So, that's one of the things that I remember on him. I'm an 80s baby, born in 81, so I came at the tail end of President Carter. And we all know the great Iran situation that was going on with him at the time with President Reagan coming in.
Right.
So some of the things that's going to come out now, potentially under the Trump administration, is how that under the Reagan administration, others influenced that election in order for helping Reagan win with some kind of dealings in Iran and other foreign affairs as well. And we know now that Jimmy Carter did have a long lifespan as well. Like you said before, some people believe that he was kind of blessed by God for being the most Christian president there is when it comes to peace. So some of those nuances I realized today through my network, thanks to Rabbi Garth and beyond.
Okay. All right, so for the final minute, each one of you can have a final statement.
Well, once again, my name is Gonzalo Duran, and I'm running for mayor for New York City. And the things that I want to bring is more of a conservative, more bold stance on our city, our administration. And I'm looking for individuals that are sympathetic to that cause and want to help me to run, basically.
Yes.
Well, I'm District Leader Dion Powell. I just want to remind everybody, think about the concept that Black Lives Matter. And this cycle in 2025, I would like to help everybody apply for positions in the Trump administration, because if no Black people apply, how can you call the man's administration racist if you don't see any Black people? So check out Trump Vance Transition, Serve America, search that word online, and also go to the Plum, like the fruit, Plum database, search that online to see all the 8,000 positions that need to be appointed, and just apply yourself. I'm very big on, not doing all this in the world, but doing this. What are you doing? And so that's why I've been pouring our community as a part of my economic development and civic engagement education. Remember, the most powerful tool the man has is the ability to create and change the rules. And that's why you should be a part of this political process.
Could you repeat that site?
Oh, well, it's not the word site, but it's called Trump Vance Transition, I think, .com, but it's Trump Vance Transition, and then put Serve America. So that's the keywords on the internet. You have to realize now, because of censorship, Google won't give you anything positive about Trump when you put it in. So it's hard to find these things that are being attacked by our media. But once it becomes real for you like that with those searches, like, I can't find anything positive about Trump or information about the Trump administration, then you're like, wait a minute, maybe those people on the right side aren't crazy or racist. They're onto something. So I might look into the DuckDuckGos and the Substacks and the Telegrams and the WhatsApp groups for this information. But the Plum database is there, PLUM, like the fruit. Plum data report, go into that database, look at the over 8,000 political appointments, and see where you may fit in.
Right, and I've seen the site. I know that there's a lot of positions. They're looking for like ambassadors, right? Ambassador to Jamaica, ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, to all those places that you can apply for, and other positions that will be available within the different departments in the state.
Well, but Rabbi, I want to add something of interest. I'm applying for the Africa positions. Did you know that under the Biden-Harris administration, most of the ambassadors and delegations to Africa are actually white?
Yes.
Now, where's the DEI program for that? So think about that one, Rabbi. We don't have enough time.
Yes, indeed. And now it's time to close. And with that, I say, please continue to watch Millennium TV 24. And with that, we say goodbye.